What do you love about conventions?
I love being in a space where all of the weird stuff that you're into, that you get excited about, that usually makes people look at you funny in the real world, everybody thinks that way and feels that way. It's just like a place where you can be fully yourself.
Look at all these nerds.
Yeah, it was like that.
Okay, all right.
Wait, a little bit like, okay, that came out too.
Cons, conventions.
Cons, conventions,
Conversion.
My favorite Dragon Con story, since we're here, was we were at a party on Friday night, getting drinks at the Pulse Bar, and some drunk guy, very belligerent, who was dressed as George R. R. Martin, like, slurs over to us and just, like, leaned in and was like, "Are you a decent person?" And I was like, "I guess so." And he just, like, reached down and grabbed a little skull and crossbones sticker and put it on my arm and was like, "You're dead."
So one of my craziest con stories, or one that stood out to me, is back in the day before it was popular to gender bend, I wanted to be Raven. And I was like, am I gonna make it? How are people gonna accept me? So I talked to a designer. We came up with a costume for my Raven that looked pretty good to me. And we made it work. And when I got on the con floor and went to a photo shoot, it was so hilarious because the wind was blowing. And she made this cape span that was ridiculously wide. And so when I was out there waiting, everything was just blowing, the hair, the cape, and everything. So it really made for a magnificent, I guess, introduction to the costume. It just looked like I had planned it, like a wind tunnel was there or something. So that was amazing.
This year I was here at Con, and I was like walking past, and I'm a tall person. I'm like 5'9.5", 5'10", and I'm walking past it with like a group of people, and this guy like grabs my arm, and I was like, "Yes," and he was like, "How tall are you?" And I was like, 5'9.5", and he goes, "Oh, I was trying to make out with all the girls over 6 feet this weekend," and I was like, no.
Oh man.
I gotta go.
It was early. It was like late morning. I hadn't eaten yet, but it was just rushing. But let's hurry up and get to this photo shoot. It was out in the hot sun, and stood there as long as I could. Then like the fact that it was hot and I hadn't eaten that day kind of got to me. So I felt myself starting to throw up. So I kind of like exited, you know, like all the photographers are there taking pictures, and I have to run off, and I'm like, I have to throw up. So I'm like running, and it's coming, and I'm like, okay, there's a plant. I'll try to make it to that. Didn't make it to the plant.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite questions to ask. What is your craziest con story? Like, whenever someone talks about conventions...
I got it. Oh no.
Oh no, they both know.
Oh no.
I know we're both thinking the same exact thing right now.
All right.
This is gonna be good for the
Tell us.
I'm just gonna go into it. We're at MC in Birmingham, and there's a Harley Quinn cosplayer, and this guy is doing a semi-waterfall T'Challa with his shirt off, and he has the mask on. I'm sitting there with my camera as always, and I hear her say, "Can I do it?" And I was like, I don't know what's going on right now. She walks up to him and says, "Do I have consent?" He's like, yeah, here's the look on his face. He's like, she says, "Just say yes. Do I have consent?" And I was like, oh, I'm getting my camera out. I don't know what's going on.
And to be fair, she is a Frenchie, like she knows us. So
Yes.
like, I was just like, oh, it's harmless. It's like, yeah, sure.
Sure.
Maybe she's just gonna do what do you call them? A shipping picture or something like that, you know, or something.
And then I'm camera ready. She says, she looks at him and says, "You ready?" Looks like she's gonna take a picture, and then she begins to lick his chest.
She kind of.
And you know, T'Challa never freezes. He froze.
When 300 was big, Yeah, I know. I did a Spartan back when I was like,
Hey, do a Spartan, like work, like however you're dressed.
I did a Christmas Spartan. That's actually my favorite version.
Ooh.
If you ever go to Holiday Matsuri, that's where it's at. But it was I drive traffic in Orlando at MegaCon, and I just walk out as like a Spartan, and I just put my hand up, and I stop traffic with my hand, which is very dangerous because I really could have got hit by a car and killed. But I stopped traffic with my hand, and I let all my friends cross the road on a busy I-4 intersection. I drive, and people were like, "Chad, how'd you do that?" I was like, "Well, first of all, I was really drunk." So I was like, that liquid courage really gave me that oomph I needed to get in there and do that. So.
Have you seen cons change nerd culture, like grow nerd culture in a sense?
I think cons are growing nerd culture. I think the more people go to cons, the more cons are talked about and promoted. I feel like people are becoming more knowledgeable of cons. And there are always going to be those people who think that, you know, we're all just a bunch of weirdos. But I think the more that they see them, the more they realize that, you know, it's just not that stereotypical nerd that goes to cons. I think the more those things are seen, I think that it kind of opens people's eyes up, even if it's not something that they're particularly into. I think it helps them to not look at us like we're just a bunch of weirdos.
Oh, Emily.
What?
Why do you like conventions?
Why do I like conventions? Because I feel like I can be myself and no one's gonna judge me and I can just have as much fun as I want to.
There you go.
Okay, well, when I go to conventions and I see everybody flipping through the comic books or looking for that one special like pop figure that they have to have, or they're talking to one of their favorite artists, I just see like a family. Like, it just looks like everybody's having fun. They're all there. They're all you know, helping each other out. There's people that walk around specifically for like just to help. Like, they have like it's like a cosplay help person where they have like a cross on their head or on their helmet, and they like help other people fix their costumes or like duct tape their something that fell apart. And that's just like really cool to me. Just people who, you know, are there to help you, and you know, it's just a big community. I see more like more families there than anything. I don't just see nerds. I see people who are enjoying themselves.
But when I go to conventions, as soon as you walk through the door, you immediately just have this feeling of happiness because you're surrounded by.
I have a ride.
Yeah, you have you feel good because you're finally showing people what you've worked on for forever. But then you're also surrounded by people who have a lot of the same interests as you. So you immediately feel at home. And like looking around, like she said, looking around to all the people that are just diving into everything that they love, waiting online for an hour just to get 5 seconds to talk to their favorite celebrity or artist or writer or something like that. That's a dream. Like, people from the outside could look in and they're like, you're waiting online for like 5 minutes just to get an autograph or a picture. But to us, it's everything. So it's like, other people might not understand it, but when you go in there, everybody understands what you're feeling and everybody feels the same way, which is really cool to me.
Especially when you go into a convention and you're planning to meet somebody, like you've been talking to someone.
Yeah, if you go to a convention for a specific person, it's.
Yeah, you've been talking to this person online. You've been following each other, watching what they're working on, and talking back and forth. Excited to meet, and making new friends.
Yeah. When you finally meet them, you kind of feel a little weird first. It's like, I don't really know you, but after like 5 minutes, you feel like you've known each other forever. Exactly. It's the coolest thing.
Getting those connections are probably one of the most important things too, because they can help you with a certain thing that you're not too good at, and they'll probably come to you with something that they're not too good at.
And if you ever have a problem, the cosplay community is always like helping each other. Like, I'm always messaging friends from out of state, like, hey, I'm trying to do this. What do you think the best way to do that would be? And they're always right there, but willing to help. And it's the same the other way too. Yeah. So.
Beautiful.
Be at a con is generally you're surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals to a certain degree. I mean, there's so many different demographics within the scope of a con that you can't really say oh, I just like this, or I just like this, because it's not about that. So you can find friends and kind of make connections with just about everybody on some level or another. And it's nice to be able to say, hey, you like that? I like that too. Now we're cool, and people take that for granted. I think.
Oh yeah. So what do you think though? Since you've seen nerd culture, you've seen it in when you go to cons. What do you think it does for people, as a whole?
I think being as big or popular it is now, it kind of builds acceptance, because some people are hard to be like, it's hard to say I like this, because if the social norm says that you're not supposed to like something, or that you're a nerd or whatever, then you're outside of the norm, and that's fucking no bueno.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of brings a lot of things to scope, that people could be like, hey, it's cool to like this. You're cool.
If you're pretty, not smart. Just act on the pretty part.
Smolder.
What I love about con culture is just everybody is just okay with everyone for who they are. So for example, there are some people who come out as Doctor Who, and even if you don't watch Doctor Who, you're still excited for the fact that they came out in the costume, looking at their hard work, their dedication, and just you're able to share knowledge with one another and just make friends.
I personally love being able to go to con and wear whatever I want, and I love being able to go, okay, well that person's in my fandom and that person's in my fandom, we should talk and get together and eat.
This is actually our first on-assignment con, and it's been really, really dope. I mean, we get to meet so many different people. I think the cons give a different type of energy, right? So when we go to industry events...
Another black guy, what's up, guys? Just moved in the frame.
He is, there's two of us. We got, of course, Wakanda forever, you know what I mean? The energy in cons is different from industry events. When you go to the industry events, it's like, you kind of have to finagle and stuff like that, but at the con, everyone's kind of chill and they're relaxed and they're excited to see press. And the entertainment stuff, they're like, yo, I'm tired of getting interviewed by 5,000 people. But when they see press here, it's like, oh my God, it's a breakup of the monotony. So it's really dope. Well, I mean, what you gotta say? What do you gotta say, bro?
I'm just happy to be here. We got here safe. We're not from here. We're from New York. You know what I mean? We got here safe and sound. The hotel was clean. Hospitality is amazing. Yeah, we're happy to be here. And we're doing our thing.
First con was Dragon Con. We dove head first.
It was.
That's like Everclear at prom. You need to work your way up to Dragon Con.
I got that.
No. She got real sad. Con crud times 20.
We just went head first, and we learned a lot. I think it was good that we went
about life,
the universe, about ourselves.
People do this. I read about it, but here it is.
Exactly.
No joke. I'm not gonna name areas, but I actually met some of my con friends, first round con at Dragon Con, at a thong party.
Okay.
And as a guy, when you first your mental default is to women in thongs, and I go, and it was all men. And I was kind of like, well, alrighty then. Well, this is a new experience.
At that point, you're there, and you just gotta dive in.
You just go with it. You're like, you know what? Hey, micro-kinis, they tend to work for everyone apparently. So alrighty.
There we go.
But yeah, this year we make this con, and it's focused on diversity and inclusion. We have partners and tracks with Nerdtino for the Latinx programming. We partnered with the Artway Alliance for kids programming, so that if you're under 12, which are free at BlurCon, by the way, you get to come in free, and you kind of have this opportunity as a parent. So you can drop your kids off, and the programming rotates, but the kids don't have to move. Right? We had 120 panels in year one, which I have a couple gray hairs from managing all that. About 30 guests. The program, like I said, we really got excited.
How many guests did you have?
30.
30.
Yeah. So we had the director of Rick and Morty and Teen Titans Go came. Yeah. We had a bunch of stunt actors and performers from Atlanta that came out and done some really great work. We had the usual ranges, which you probably saw a quick flash from them.
Yeah.
So this year we've got 4 of the Dora Milaje from Black Panther. We've got one of the armor and jewelry designers from Black Panther who's coming out. Her name is Dorian Fletcher. We also have the Yellow Ranger, Karen Ashley, is coming. That's the 25th anniversary for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you know what we're really excited about was that, well, first of all, do you know what a blurred is? A blurred.
A black nerd?
Yes, yes. So for a con where the core of it is this black nerd energy, and then we had all of these other underrepresented populations and communities came and participated. You know, we had people from the disabled community come in, we had LGBTHQ came and did a lot of programming, and so it was this really great mesh. And you see it in the video, it was like everybody came in, and it was like the feedback panel, they were saying, oh, it just felt like a reunion.
What is your favorite con to go to?
So far this one, since fandom's not around anymore, I don't really have any local cons that I kind of feel like I'm a part of, or that I feel like I kind of have a con family there. But I have a friend who lives in town here and a couple of other friends who carpool up from Pensacola every year, and we just kind of got our little clan that we all hang out, and this is really the one time a year we get to see each other because we all have jobs and school and life, and the distance is so big. It takes something big like this for us to be able to all get together.
So what are you guys filming for?
A documentary.
Hello, boys. Who are the boys?
Sam and King Chester.
Ah, yeah, I don't know Supernatural. I never watched it.
I haven't either.
I know.
Watched 2 episodes.
So bad.
That one I almost
So bad
fell off
about
the
it.
fucking treadmill because of one line. So let's boneless none.
And she she texted me in all caps going, I almost died. I was like, what happened? She goes, Dean Winchester.
And you just got it. You're like, no need to explain further. I get it.
I kind of just went, what do you do?
Is this for the documentary?
Yes, the documentary, as you see, called A Nerd's Paradise, and it is about conventions and the impact they have had on the people that go to them, on nerd culture, how things thrive.
Do you guys want an interview?
What?
Do you guys need an interview?
I mean, we could be recording you right now.
I mean, all right, wait, hold on. I'll get ready. Don't start recording yet. Whatever you do, don't already have started recording about 10 minutes ago.
I mean, I already started recording.
Nope, I'm not ready yet. Okay.
Right. What do you love about, and just repeat the questions, you know, like, rephrase it back. What do you love about con culture?
What do I love about Comic-Con culture? I love you about Comic-Con culture. And also, I gotta bone this nun. No, what I really love about Comic-Con culture is actually what just happened. The fact that we can say silly things like that and everybody gets along, and I'm a big guy, and I come off as a kind of a jockey, like a dude who would carry a lacrosse stick around wherever I go, and I'm not. And so finally I get to a place where I don't have to sort of pretend to be something else, and no one else here is either. Everyone's dressed the way they want to dress. Everyone's here because they're happy to be here. Everyone's here to celebrate a thing they love. There's not a lot of other places where you go to celebrate your passion equally. So that's what I love about the place.
I love that. That was good.
Started off insincere and ended sincere. That's how you do it, baby.
Bring him in with a joke, hit him with the truth.
Hit him with the truth.
Where did we go?
We lost her. Found her.
Yeah, we need a... I tried to buy a knife and they wouldn't
Is this a problem you run into a lot?
Well,
everywhere I go, I try to buy weapons and they say,
Well, we found weapons yesterday.
And they were like, no.
We found weapons yesterday, and she was stabbing a piece of cardboard saying this could be your flesh.
Wait a second.
So
they got it out of your little sense? Why
saw
did
you stabbing cardboard yesterday.
Why did they say no to you?
Because I saw her yesterday and goes, this is cash. But they were like, sorry, we can't give it to you. And I was like, why? And they're like, oh, we need cash. And I was like, okay, that makes more sense.
Cons, I like to watch. I like to see the costumes. I am not into anime. I know enough to be dangerous of few things, but I love to see the costumes. I'll say, you have a gorgeous costume. I'm sorry, I don't know where it's from, and they'll tell me. They don't feel upset that I don't know about it. And I can wander around and I'm safe. I have always felt safe at the cons most of the time.
What do you think, what do you think cons have done for like nerd culture? Because, cons haven't been around
Well,
as long as nerd culture has.
I think it kind of made it somewhat more acceptable. I mean, you see more about it. I think sometimes cons can give the wrong side with some of the pictures that are done. There's been problems with Dragon Con and things like that, but I think it's made it more acceptable. You're not shoveled to the back of the bus for being a nerd or a geek anymore. You're accepted for what you are.
Like people who are not con goers, they kind of like are outside of this nerd world. What would you say to them if they came to a con? Like what's some advice you would give them on like as they walk through?
Okay, so I'm gonna squash all of the stereotypes that people think about cons. We're not all awkward. A lot of us are. Some of us shared our our outside awkwardness, but we still may be awkward on the inside. But yeah, they think we're all awkward. We're not all like that. They think we're all introverted. We're not all like that. A lot of geeks. I am introverted, but a lot of geeks are extroverted. Not all of us are shy to talk to people. There's this really nasty stereotype that people at cons are all DTF. I'm not going to explain what those three words mean. You can figure that out. But a lot of people think that just because we dress a certain way or because we do a certain thing, that we're all participating in crazy things at night. That happens, but that is not the norm. That's not the standard. It will happen, but don't walk in here thinking that everybody in here is like that. They think that we're all immature. They think that we're all just irresponsible and all that. No, like I said, we go through all these different. We come from all walks of life. Like for instance, I was at a friend's birthday party and I know her through salsa dancing, bachata dancing, and I met other people there who also attended cons. I'm like, wait, did we just get into a con and geek conversation and I didn't bring it up? So that I just felt so at home knowing that I met other people that happen to be in the same thing that I'm into while being at another thing that I'm into.
Very first convention, and like it's been amazing. And not only is it a nerd convention, it's a black nerd convention, and where I got to speak on a panel of very diverse voices about mental health and how embracing our nerd culture was a form of self-care for us. So
First convention, Dragon Con, my reaction, it was mind blown because I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years prior to that, and I remember walking through and I saw Superman and Spider-Man and Wonder Woman and all this amazing stuff, and I was like, what is even going on here? Guys are walking around with kilts on and shields, and one day I decided, you know what, I looked it up, I attended it, I made so many new friends, built a tolerance for alcohol I never think I was able. I became a Viking basically in one weekend, but it is hands down the Super Bowl of conventions. I always tell everyone, if every convention around the world was owned by one guy and he threw a Christmas party for all of us, that Christmas party would be Dragon Con.
What impact have you seen conventions have on nerd culture and its growth? Because our messages, like conventions are a nerd's paradise. And back in 1977, they weren't really around that much.
Well, nerd culture as a whole has just exploded. I mean, You go to Target now, you'll see 2,000 Millennium Falcon t-shirts. Whereas 10 years ago, you probably won't find one. TV shows now, I mean, movies, the whole culture has exploded. And I blame a lot of that, not in a bad way, in a positive way, on a lot of the cosplay community. The only problem now with all of this going on, now conventions have become very corporate. You know, now there's a lot of security for no reason. Now people, quote unquote, everybody thinks they're famous or trying to get famous or noticed within this community, and they have forgot how to have a good time, you know, which I hope it goes back to that. That's why I always stay grounded and level-headed. I don't care if I have 1 billion views on YouTube, I'm still the same hip-hop trooper from day one at Dragon Con. That's there to have a good time.
I think cons are growing nerd culture. I think the more people go to cons, the more cons are talked about and promoted. I feel like people are becoming more knowledgeable of cons. And there are always going to be those people who think that, you know, we're all just a bunch of weirdos. But I think the more that they see them, the more they realize that, you know, it's just not that stereotypical nerd that goes to cons. I think the more those things are seen, I think that it kind of opens people's eyes up, even if it's not something that they're particularly into. I think it helps them to not look at us like we're just a bunch of weirdos, like that stereotypical nerd or geek that, you know, you see that who gets picked on in school. You know, there are people who are like, you know, like models or, you know, who have professional careers that where they get, you know, wide acclaim for, but, you know, cosplay is just something that they do on the side and it doesn't define them. So I think it helps to let us know that, you know, we're not just that person that gets picked on. You know, it can be more, you know, popular people, people who have, you know, large voices in society, and this is just something that they do on the side that doesn't define them.
So do you think, going off that, do you think that cons are kind of breaking the stereotypes that are put on nerd culture?
I think so, because like even if you look at a lot of the cosplayers now, you don't look at them and say, oh, that person's a nerd, because this person looks better than the average person by far. You know, because like we're all about, you know, working out so we can look good in these costumes, and, you know, like like some of these people, their goal is to get people to, you know, fantasize about them. You know, people actually monetize that, you know, with Patreons and such. Mm-hmm. And so I think that definitely helps with, you know, breaking that stereotype and opening people's minds.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that conventions are a paradise, nerds can call it, you know, a paradise for them?
I think so. I think that cons are a nerd's paradise, because it's a place where you can go and be around like-minded people and not feel afraid to, you know, express yourself. Like as far as like in your everyday life, you know, you're not going to just walk around in costumes because people say, oh, that person's weird. But we expect that on the con floor, so you can, you know, do that and feel like, hey, I'm at home here. I can express my nerd and people aren't going to talk about me because they're doing the exact same thing that I'm doing.
Nerd culture has definitely grown with the epitome of like all the crazy blockbusters have been out, on top of the social media, so people can see other people at cons and like, oh, I can go talk about everything I love in one single place. Awesome. So yeah, cons are definitely the congregation of ideas and stuff that kind of build probably to more like, oh, everyone likes the Avengers, we'll make 30 movies and now they know we'll watch them.
Yeah. I think what cons have done for nerd culture is like giving people a real sense of community. I feel like coming here, and a community and diversity, because coming to con, I feel like I'll mention Dragon Con to someone and they're like, maybe a few years ago they'd be like, "You're going to Dragon Con," and then now they're like, "Oh my gosh, Dragon Con!" And I think it's because the more people come, the more people can go out and be like, "No, there's seriously something for everyone here." Like, it's whether it's gaming or movies or like alternate history or whatever it is, you can find it here and also find your people. I know people who have lifelong con friends, so I think it's given nerds who may not seem like they have a place to go.
I think cons make people, or give people, a safe haven. It is very, very fun. It's very, very embracing for the most part. It allows people to be free. It allows people to form bonds that they probably would have never formed before. I mean, to go on the con floor and to run into people who are into your fandom, who enjoy what you do, and you have a likeness is amazing. I think that it is helping people to broaden their scope. I think it's helping people to broaden their horizons and expand themselves. Before, when I was really young, nerd culture and cons, you thought of people who were pretty much living in their parents' basements or things like that. And now it's just a whole new world. People are physically fit. People are not living at home. They have wonderful careers, and they actively choose to do this. And I think that knowing that people actively choose to do this to the people on the outside is a wonderful thing, because it's not about, oh, these are some outcasts that are just getting together. No, we actually have wonderful jobs outside of this, and we want to be here. So I think the con brings so many different people together that were afraid to express themselves, that were afraid to enjoy themselves, and it puts them in one spot and allows them to congregate and actually share with each other.
So when I talk to people about cons and what I do, I find that if I go direct and I'm like, I go to conventions where we celebrate anime, all things nerdy, I get a lot of like eye rolls, sometimes disgust, or like, oh, you're really immature and childish. So I end up actually rephrasing it a lot. So when I talk about what I do, because I love making costumes, it's my passion, I phrase it as, I go to a convention where I can make my costumes, where I can show what I do, and it comes off better.
Do you think conventions have done something for the female nerd?
Ooh. For sure. Conventions definitely have helped the female nerds, I feel like, come to light. Like, everyone, when you think of nerds, you just think of, like, white guys sitting in basements who are smelly. Yeah. And when everyone comes to actual cons, they're like, oh, there's every single walk of life here. Everyone's a nerd. And so it's kind of, I guess, opens the eyes that you can see everyone.
Yeah. I think, like she said, bringing them to light instead of, because you think about the inception of sci-fi and fantasy and all that, it's all women. And somewhere along the line, men were like, nah, we have it too, and or it's ours and we invented it. And you're like, actually, like Mary Shelley, whatever. But that kind of thing. But being able to have people come here and see that women are in fact here, and if not like leading the way in terms of how nerd culture is being revolutionized.
J.K. Rowling, where would we be without Harry Potter? Exactly.
It's a new form of nerd that we're allowed to have now, and not allowed to have, but I think we've taken it back.
What? We're stalking you.
Oh my god.
Oh. I need you in my documentary.
Okay.
So do whatever you're feeling right now.
I don't know what. Are you doing like music video or?
No, it's a documentary.
Okay. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah!
There it is. Let's give it. Also fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
guys think conventions have done for nerd culture? Like, what have you seen? What do you think conventions have helped grow nerd culture?
For me, it's just like, these are my people.
Mm-hmm.
I've made so many friends that I really actually call good friends now, just based around comics and this common love that we have.
Yeah, it definitely, that is actually probably the biggest thing, people that you can connect with, and not just, there are people that you connect with on a superficial level, and there are people that you can actually, even on a deep level, like, like this guy, and it started with that kind of shared love and sort of shared experiences. And I think in general for nerd culture, it's just kind of brought it to mainstream, and it's reversed a lot of thoughts on, whereas beforehand someone being thought of as a nerd might be seemingly negative in the general eye, not in the eye of the person who is the nerd. But now, if you said someone before, have you watched, let's say Avengers came out years ago, so have you watched Avengers? Like, no, kind of thing, and it'll be that kind of thing. Whereas these days, you say, have you watched Avengers? No. How can you not? Where have you been, like, on this earth? It's
Black Panther.
different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Our response to that is, leave the room now.
Yeah, literally. Like some people who watch on the plane first.
So what stereotypes do you think, do you think conventions have helped break stereotypes since it has grown nerd culture so much? Do you think do you think the conventions have helped break the stereotypes?
I think it's on its way.
Yeah.
I think conventions on its way to breaking stereotypes. Because they're still there. There's still the typical image of the geek and nerd and things. What it has done is opened up to the fact that there are lots of different types. You can be the jock who is into sports or various other things, and you're deeply into comics as well, or into movies. It's allowed people who are into two completely different things, but their shared love of anime just gets them together, and they're both chanting the same kind of things. But I do think there is still that sort of core typical geek mentality from a perception from some people.
So we're just gonna ask you guys about your relationship and being nerds together, married nerds.
Married nerds.
Mm-hmm. So
I have the power.
Oh no.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
So where did you guys meet?
Actually at Dragon Con.
Yeah. It was about, I'd say, 8-9 years ago, back when the board gaming was over at the Hilton.
Yeah.
It was kind of in the basement of the Hilton.
It literally was in the basement.
It was in the basement. And they were gaming with, him and his brother were gaming with one of my girlfriends who brought her husband, and she was dressing up as like an actual board game character. So they were very intrigued by. So that's how they met the year before, and then I got introduced to them the year after that.
We actually just bought the board game.
Was it
Last Night on
Last
Earth?
Night on Earth?
Yeah.
So yeah, she dressed as one of the actual characters from Last Night on Earth, the board game, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
So there was different groups. Like they were the Alabama guys, there were Atlanta guys, and some Florida guys. And they were all the groups that we would hang out with and play games with pretty much the whole time. Although when I came to con the first couple times, I just cosplayed and walked around and did stuff like that. But I would come down there and play games with them occasionally.
Yeah, my first year when I came to con, it was in the quote-unquote Hall of Virgins, which was the basement of the Hyatt.
Hilton.
Hilton, sorry. Yeah, that's the nickname it got because usually people who board game do it pretty much the entire con. Very rarely do we see the sun, which is evidenced by my super whiteness. So.
They shower though.
Just want to put that out there.
Thanks.
That it's not all nastiness.
It's not all gross. Actually, most people that we do are pretty cool. So, but yeah, he stood out mostly because there was one year that we came, and it's technically like our favorite year. I think it was 2010, and that was the year we played board games pretty much like an entire day into the evening, and which is usual for you, not for me. But so I came down there, and I think I ended up buying pizza for everyone at the table.
Yes.
And it was expensive, not very good pizza.
But I appreciate it.
But yeah, he remembered it.
I remembered it for an
my
entire
gesture.
year. And so the next year she came back and I saw her down there again and bought her a pizza back. Because I remembered that I owed you.
Yes, I've forgotten, but he remembered.
Oh, I remember. You left an impression.
And so we came back to our hotel room. We had dance party fun.
You're forgetting about the number.
Oh, and before that, I gave him my number. I know.
Move,
It
right?
seems kind of.
Not only because at this point we were playing the game where my hand's on the table and the one's on the floor, so I don't have a free hand. Like I can't take anything from her. And so it was loud in there, so I kind of halfway didn't fully understand what she said she was putting in my pocket, but she actually put it all the way in my pocket.
So all like
So
back
not
pocket?
only did she give me the number,
No, it was front pocket.
front pocket,
Oh.
all the way into it.
I didn't dig.
I'm just saying it was all the way in.
It was a type.
It's all the way in.
I had to put it in there because it was their little cute tight jeans.
Well, you thought they were cute.
I thought they were cute. So anyways.
I didn't know she was single at this point either, so.
Wow. You think I'm like a...
We've been over this.
You think I'm a tramp or
We've
something?
been over this. No, I thought you just gave me your number, so.
So yeah, anyways, we went to the party at our little room. It was fun. I sweat a lot, and so I didn't have any clothes left for the next day. So all I had left was a bathing suit. Thought it was fun. So I put on my bathing suit, was hanging out, trying to be all cute in front of them. It was fun.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, you know, we've built friendships at this stage, so the room had, what, like
15 people?
10 or 15 people.
It wasn't a
that
lot, but...
We've all gotten to know at Con and kind of formed like a clique or a group now. So when she was in there changing, I was talking with one of my other buddies, Matt, about Walisha. And so I was like, yeah, you know, she gave me her number, so I guess I'll stay in touch and everything. And then Matt's like, well, you know she's single, right? And I'm like, what? Like, no one has told me this at this stage, right? Like, you know, I'm joking around with her and everything. I assumed that she had a boyfriend. And so then he's like, he's single, she's single. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Like, what the
What's up? This young lady would like to talk to you about the face bow that you made. Come on over here and let's look at him.
I would love to look at him.
So this is my baby, the face of bow. I carved him out of insulation foam in my dining room.
In your dining room?
It was a mistake. My cats were covered in styrofoam for weeks. And we had a hard time getting him out of my dining room. But anyway, he's insulation foam, many layers glued together with expanding foam and latex. And his tentacles light up, and he's actually a keg.
They do!
The little balls light up, and we're...
Can we turn them on?
Not right now, unfortunately. We have to take the back off to do it, and none of us, we're working on it.
Cupid.
Okay.
But like in the beginning he wasn't, but he has to harvest hearts.
Okay.
To like feed to an evil tree, this ancient tree that like holds these spirits. So the tree has to consume the hearts to keep them trapped.
Hey Thor.
Hey Mozel, how fairly? Just laugh and not talk back to me.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, glorious. Thank you for asking.
What do I nerd out about? Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, depends on people. Like, I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan. I've just finished watching the whole series for the third time. It was like the highlight of my. I got the Blu-ray box set at Christmas, and I was like so excited. I still play Dungeons and Dragons. Nice, yes. Actually, when my family and we live in Atlanta now, and I think it was like last week, a couple weeks ago, I was back in LA for press, and I had a couple of days off, so I was able to see some friends. And one of the things on the Saturday when I saw my friends is that we met and we played X-Wing for a little while. So, but I think I just nerd out on the people that I see. Like I was at the hotel gym earlier today, and like Kevin Sorbo's there, and I'm like,
dude, that's like, I'm like, Kevin Sorbo's just working out right next to me. That's really crazy. And then he talked to me for a little while. But before he did that, then like Data came walking in and just started talking to Kevin Sorbo, and I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I'm just in this gym, and we're the only ones in the gym. Like, Kevin Sorbo's talking to like Data, and they're just hanging out, and then he leaves, and that's kind of what I geek out about.